The day I first put on that maid uniform, I thought I was just playing a role. I thought it was a fantasy, a little experiment, something I could take off whenever I wanted. But I had no idea that one simple outfit, one set of house rules, and one decision would completely change the way I saw myself forever. Because sometimes the biggest transformations in life don't happen when someone forces us to change. They happen when we finally allow ourselves to discover a side of us that was already there. For many people watching this, you might understand that feeling. That moment when you look at yourself differently in the mirror. That moment when you try a different style, a different outfit, a different version of yourself, and something inside you says, "This feels more natural than I expected." But what happens when that private curiosity becomes part of your everyday life? What happens when a simple challenge turns into a new routine? What happens when the rules of the house are not just about cleaning, cooking, or organizing, but about discipline, confidence, patience, and discovering who you really are? That's exactly what happened to me. I never imagined that house rules would become the thing that taught me the most about myself. Before all of this started, I was just someone who lived with a lot of thoughts I never shared. Like many people who explore crossdressing, I had moments where I wondered why certain clothes, certain styles, and certain expressions made me feel so comfortable. It wasn't just about the clothes. It was about the feeling, the confidence, the calm, the ability to step away from the pressure of being the person everyone expected me to be. For years, I kept that side of myself hidden. I worried about what people would think. I wondered if people would judge me. I thought I had to choose between different parts of who I was. But eventually, I learned something important. You don't have to hate one side of yourself to appreciate another. You don't have to explain every feeling before you are allowed to experience it. And you don't have to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. My journey started with something that seemed almost funny at first. A set of house rules. It wasn't supposed to become a life lesson. It wasn't supposed to become something meaningful. It was just a challenge. The rules were simple. Wake up early.
Keep the house organized.
Take responsibility. Pay attention to details. And for the first time, do everything while embracing the feminine side of my personality that I had spent years keeping quiet. At first, I thought the hardest part would be wearing the clothes. I thought the hardest part would be seeing myself dressed differently. I thought the hardest part would be learning a new appearance. But I was wrong. The hardest part was changing my mindset. Because being a maid wasn't really about the uniform.
It was about attitude.
It was about patience. It was about learning that small things matter. A clean room, a prepared meal, a thoughtful gesture, a peaceful environment. Things that people often ignore suddenly became important. And that surprised me. The first morning, I remember standing in front of the mirror, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Part of me wanted to laugh. Another part of me felt strangely comfortable. I looked different, but somehow I felt more connected to myself. I adjusted the outfit, fixed my appearance, and reminded myself that this was just a personal experience. Nobody else had to understand it. It was my journey. The first rule was simple: no rushing. That sounds easy, but it was harder than I expected. In everyday life, we are always rushing. We wake up, check our phones, think about responsibilities, worry about the future, and forget to actually experience the present moment. But following the house rules forced me to slow down. I had to notice details. I had to become more organized. I had to be more patient. And slowly something changed. The person I saw in the mirror was no longer someone I was hiding. It became someone I was learning from. I started realizing that femininity was not just about appearance. It was not just about makeup, clothing, or a certain way of walking. It was also about qualities that anyone can develop. Kindness,
Care,
attention, creativity, confidence. Those things were not limited to one gender. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. The second rule was about presentation, not perfection. Presentation. There is a huge difference. Perfection creates pressure. Presentation creates confidence. I learned that taking care of yourself is not about impressing other people. It is about respecting yourself. The small routines became meaningful. Choosing an outfit, taking time with grooming, creating a space where I felt comfortable. These things changed my entire mood. And maybe that is something many people who explore crossdressing understand. Sometimes the transformation is not about becoming someone else. Sometimes it is about finally giving yourself permission to show a part of yourself that was always there. But then came the biggest challenge, the outside world. Because inside your own room, confidence can feel easy. You can experiment. You can learn. You can explore. But eventually you have to deal with your own thoughts. The fear. The doubts. The questions. What will people think? Am I strange? Will anyone accept me? Those questions are powerful. Sometimes they stop people before they even begin understanding themselves. But I discovered something. Most of the limits we create are stronger in our imagination than they are in reality. The more I accepted myself, the less power those fears had over me. The maid role that started as a fantasy slowly became a lesson in confidence. Every task became practice. Every rule became discipline. Every day became another step toward understanding myself. And the funniest thing? The thing I thought would make me feel weak actually made me feel stronger. Because confidence does not come from pretending to be someone you are not. Confidence comes from knowing yourself and accepting yourself. The house rules changed everything. They taught me that there is strength in exploring different sides of your personality. There is strength in learning new skills. There is strength in being comfortable with who you are. And most importantly, there is strength in not letting fear control your life. But the journey was not always easy. There were moments when I questioned myself. Moments when I wanted to stop. Moments when I wondered if I was doing something wrong. And those moments taught me the biggest lesson of all. Transformation is not about becoming perfect overnight. Transformation is about learning, growing, and becoming more comfortable with yourself one step at a time. The more I followed the house rules, the more I started noticing changes that had nothing to do with the clothes I was wearing. I became more patient. I became more aware of my surroundings. I started understanding the value of effort that often goes unnoticed. Before this experience, I never really thought about how much work goes into creating a comfortable home. The small details that people ignore are often the things that create the biggest difference. A clean space, a peaceful atmosphere, a little extra care. Those things have a powerful effect on how people feel. And somehow, through this unusual journey, I started appreciating those things more. I realized that the maid role was not about being less important. It was about learning responsibility. It was about discovering a different type of confidence. A confidence that does not come from trying to prove something. A confidence that comes from being comfortable with yourself. That was something I never expected. I thought the biggest change would be how other people saw me. But the biggest change was how I saw myself. For many crossdressers, there is a hidden struggle between the person they show to the world and the person they feel inside. There can be years of hiding. Years of wondering, years of thinking, why do I feel this way? But sometimes the answer is not that something is wrong. Sometimes the answer is simply that people are complicated. Everyone has different interests, different emotions, different ways of expressing themselves. And understanding that made me feel free. The house rules became my daily reminder that I did not have to fight against myself. I could learn from every part of who I was. One of the rules was about consistency. That rule sounded boring at first. I thought, why does it matter if everything is done at the same time every day? But later I understood. Consistency creates confidence. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, you start trusting yourself more. Wake up when you planned. Finish what you started. Take care of your environment. Take care of yourself. These simple actions build a stronger mindset. And that mindset changed everything. I started feeling more comfortable in my own skin. Not because I had become someone new, but because I had stopped rejecting parts of myself. That is something many people experience when they explore crossdressing. At first, it can feel like two different worlds. The everyday world and the private world. The person everyone knows and the person you discover when you are alone. But over time, those worlds can start becoming connected. You begin realizing that both sides are still you. The confident person, the creative person, the caring person, the person who enjoys expressing themselves. All of those things can exist together. The biggest mistake people make is thinking they have to choose one identity and erase another. But life is not that simple. Human beings are not one single emotion. We are not one single style. We are not one single version. We are constantly learning,
Constantly changing.
constantly discovering new things about ourselves. And my journey as a maid taught me exactly that. Another important lesson was learning attention to detail. When you take care of a home, small things matter. A missing item, a messy corner, a forgotten task. Things that seem unimportant can affect the entire environment. This taught me to slow down and pay attention. And that skill started affecting every part of my life. I became better at planning, better at listening, better at understanding other people. Something that started as a personal experiment became a lesson in empathy. I began appreciating people who do work that often gets ignored. The people who clean, the people who organize, the people who take care of others. Their work has value. Their effort matters. And that realization changed my perspective. The uniform became a symbol, not of pretending, not of escaping, but of learning. It represented discipline
Growth.
and self-discovery. Of course, there were still difficult moments. There were times when insecurity came back. There were times when I looked at myself and wondered if I was going too far. But every time those doubts appeared, I reminded myself of something important. A person's happiness is not created by following everyone else's expectations. It is created by understanding yourself. And that takes courage. It takes courage to explore. It takes courage to accept yourself. It takes courage to be honest about what makes you feel confident and comfortable. That does not mean ignoring respect, responsibility, or the feelings of others. It means building a healthier relationship with yourself. The house rules also taught me something about confidence that many people misunderstand. Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It is not about getting attention. It is not about proving anything. Real confidence is quiet. It is waking up and feeling okay with yourself. It is looking in the mirror and not feeling like you have to hide. It is knowing that your worth is not decided by someone else's opinion. That lesson was probably the most valuable thing I gained. Because once you stop fighting yourself, you have so much more energy to improve yourself. You can learn. You can create. You can connect with people. You can enjoy life. The house rules started as something simple, but they became a personal challenge. And that challenge showed me a side of myself I had never fully understood. I learned that the feminine side I discovered was not something separate from me. It was another expression of my personality. It was another way of experiencing life. It was another way of understanding emotions, creativity, and confidence. And the more I accepted that, the more peaceful I became. But there was still one final lesson waiting for me. A lesson about balance. Because discovering yourself is important, but knowing how to live with that discovery is even more important. And that is where the real transformation began. The final lesson the house rules taught me was balance. At the beginning, I thought this journey was about changing one part of my life. I thought it was about the clothes, the appearance, and the experience of stepping into a different role. But eventually, I understood something much deeper. The real transformation was not outside. It was inside. The uniform was only a symbol. The real change happened in my thoughts. It happened when I stopped judging myself. It happened when I stopped asking, "Why am I like this?" and started asking, "What can I learn about myself?" That one change in thinking made a huge difference, because curiosity is powerful. Instead of being afraid of something I did not understand, I started exploring it. Instead of hiding from a part of myself, I started listening to it. And that gave me a level of peace I had never experienced before. Many people think crossdressing is only about clothing. They see the outside. They see the outfit. They see the transformation. But they do not always see the emotions behind it. They do not see the confidence it can create. They do not see the self-discovery. They do not see the personal growth. For many people, expressing themselves in different ways can be a journey of understanding who they truly are. And that journey deserves patience. It deserves respect. It deserves honesty. The house rules help me understand that every role we experience in life can teach us something. A role does not define your entire identity. A style does not define your entire personality. An interest does not decide your entire future. You are always more than one thing. That was something I needed to learn. For years, I worried that people would only see one part of me. I worried that one discovery would erase everything else. But the opposite happened. The more comfortable I became with myself, the more confident I became in every area of life. I became more open, more creative, more understanding, more willing to try new things. And that is the surprising power of self-acceptance. When you stop wasting energy hiding from yourself, you can use that energy to become better. The house rules also taught me the importance of respect. Respect for myself. Respect for others. Respect for different experiences. Everyone has a story that people do not see. Everyone has struggles that they keep private. Everyone has something they are trying to understand. That is why judging someone without knowing their journey is unfair. The person you see today might have spent years fighting battles you know nothing about. My journey was personal. It was not about becoming someone else. It was about becoming more comfortable being myself. And that difference is important, because there is a huge difference between pretending and expressing. Pretending means hiding who you are. Expressing means allowing yourself to be honest. The house rules gave me a safe space to explore expression. They gave me a routine. They gave me discipline. They gave me confidence. But most importantly, they gave me a lesson. A lesson that I carry with me even when I am not wearing the uniform. That lesson is simple. Never be afraid to learn something new about yourself. Because sometimes the things we are most afraid to accept are the things that help us grow the most. Looking back, I laugh because I never expected a simple challenge to become such a meaningful experience. I thought I was just following rules. But those rules were teaching me. Wake up early. Take responsibility. Pay attention. Be patient.
Be kind.
Be confident. Those lessons apply to everyone. No matter how someone dresses. No matter how someone expresses themselves. No matter what path someone is on. We all need those things. And that is why this journey became more than just a personal story. It became a reminder that everyone deserves a chance to understand themselves. The biggest surprise was that I did not lose anything by exploring this side of myself. I gained something. I gained confidence. I gained patience. I gained a better understanding of who I am. And maybe that is the biggest misunderstanding about self-expression. People sometimes think discovering yourself will make you weaker. But often, it does the opposite. When you know yourself, you become stronger. When you accept yourself, you become calmer. When you understand yourself, you become more confident. The house rules turned me into a maid, but not in the way I expected. They did not just teach me how to clean a room. They taught me how to clear my own mind. They did not just teach me how to organize a house. They taught me how to organize my thoughts. They did not just teach me how to serve others. They taught me how to respect myself. And that is why this experience stayed with me. Because sometimes the most unexpected journeys teach us the biggest lessons. The person I was before this experience was always searching for something. I just did not know what it was. I thought I needed approval. I thought I needed answers from other people. I thought I needed permission to be myself. But the truth was different. The only person who could truly give me that permission was me. And once I understood that, everything changed. The fear became smaller. The confidence became bigger. The questions became easier to handle. And the journey became something I appreciated instead of something I worried about. If there is one thing I want people watching this to remember, it is this. Do not rush to judge yourself. Do not hate parts of yourself that you are still learning about.
Give yourself time.
Give yourself patience. Give yourself the chance to grow. Because every person is a combination of different experiences, emotions, and qualities. And those differences are what make us unique. The house rules were never really about becoming a maid. They were about becoming more aware, more confident, more accepting, more connected with myself. And that was the transformation I never expected. The outfit changed what I saw in the mirror. But the lessons changed what I saw inside myself. And that is a change that lasts much longer than any clothing, any appearance, or any role. Because the most important transformation is not the one other people can see. It is the one that happens quietly inside you. The one that helps you finally say, "This is who I am, and I am learning to be comfortable with it." And that was the day I realized the house rules did not turn me into someone else. They helped me discover who I had been all along.